Welcome back. Thank you for staying with Republic TV. Republic TV happens to be your destination for the military level talks that are actually happening, right, which is underway. We'll also get in our guest right now. Joining on this broadcast is Shrijan Pal Singh, Major General K.K. Sinha, Dr. Sriram Cholia, as well as P.K. Mishra. Shrijan Pal Singh, let me begin by asking you, with regards to the, perhaps the entire note that was set before this talks were supposed to take place, the diplomatic level talks that were essentially taking place, one would say that perhaps there was already some sort of softening of stand on the part of China, or perhaps a climb down that we were looking at even before the military talks were supposed to resume?
There was obviously a flavor of softening which India did try, and initially there was some response from China, but China is something which is very difficult to understand what exactly is what they want from us, because China is basically assuming the position of a global thug. It's essentially it's a dictatorship in the garb of a communist state, and Xi Jinping is essentially trying to become the global godfather, especially of the smaller nations. And it's important to understand, where does all this start? There are several factors to it. Some of them we have covered, but a few others include things like India's decision to bifurcate the state of J&K and bring Ladakh under a UT. I think that was the flashpoint which China did not like. It all started there as well. And then, of course, the COVID crisis happened, for which we all know that China is being blamed. What we did in WHO is something which was visible to everybody. With India with US and Australia was the ones who were opposing China. Nobody else dares to say anything against China these days. And then Prime Minister's call for whole Atmanirbharta, that economic, the engine which he wants to restart and make India Atmanirbhar, it's a big loss to China in terms of the economy. China's
to India, which is the money which we pay them for goods, has risen from 2003 to 2014 by 16 times. And when India talks about Atmanirbhar, it's a dent into the Chinese economy, and that's what China fears as well. So those are several factors which have happened, and then India, along with Donald Trump in US, now sort of going out openly and questioning China's role in COVID has become a flashpoint. So what I'm trying to tell is that whether it's diplomatic or all these channels, the military talks are happening, I'm very hopeful that things will turn out for this particular crisis. But China will continue to use something or the other to push crisis after crisis onto India. Because the real reason is the Chinese army is an extension of the communist ideology of China to dominate the world. And it will go on across the world to, exert its authority through covert and overt methods. So we should be taking this as caution. I hope things turn out good today. It's important that we have a peaceful neighborhood, as someone was saying. But at the same time, I do not trust China in terms of its, integrity of any promise it makes. Do understand that China has invested about $4 trillion in its Belt Road project. And if India starts to replace China as an economic powerhouse, as a production hub, then the entire $4 trillion that are invested in the Belt Road project comes under a scanner. And that is a dent on Xi Jinping's legacy. It's also a personal issue now for Xi Jinping to ensure that India does not emerge as an economic alternative. So what we see in Ladakh today is going to happen again and again, and we need to be prepared for it.
Well, let me also bring in Abhishek Kapoor right now. Abhishek, just to put this into perspective, because as the talks are basically underway, that's the breaking news you're getting in. You essentially made this point that perhaps we cannot really trust China. Look at what has happened. Let's go back to the timeline when the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had gone into Beijing, and thereafter also we've seen what happened in the last few years, be it the Depsang plains, or for that matter in Doklam in 2017, 2018. We've seen that somewhere down the line, you've always got a mixed signal from the Chinese administration. But today, they've opened up multiple fronts. Hong Kong, they've opened up Taiwan, South China Sea, and now, of course, what's happening here at the border. How do you essentially look at that aspect?
Even with India, it's North Sikkim. It's in the eastern Ladakh sector, 3-4 places, Galwan, Gogra, North Pangong, Hot Springs. So this has been done to a plan. Make no mistake. I mean, talks have started. We can tell our viewers that meet and greet and some getting to know each other, because the delegation talks. Lieutenant General Harinder Singh and his counterpart from the Chinese side meeting at Moldo, which is the Chinese side of the Trishul-Moldo border point, and I believe the talks might go on for a couple of hours, Shavan. both the leaders or the generals are accompanied by the same set of officers who have already engaged at least a dozen times with each other at various levels, from commanding officer to major general rank. What is important is, as you were mentioning about whether China has opened multiple fronts, the fact remains that militarily speaking, perhaps they can do it. But in terms of perception, it's likely that the Chinese are going to get a bloody nose. It's the manner in which they have almost finished all autonomy of Hong Kong promised as part of the transition law when they took it over from UK in 1997, or the manner in which they have behaved with the Vietnamese, or the manner in which they have been fingering the Japanese in the Senkaku Islands, or the manner in which they have dealt with the Mekong countries by controlling and stopping almost the flow of Mekong River. So I think if taken together, the Chinese are perhaps in a state of mind where they think that America is increasingly getting weakened and they can flex their muscle and get away with it. So this is going to continue for some time, and that's why I was saying that India has no option but to have a long-term strategy to deal with it. It was Chumar some time ago, then it was before that it was Depsang. Before that also these things have happened. This time it seems to be a little more well orchestrated and with some more concrete objectives in mind. I am sure our military commanders understand that, as also of course our Ministry of External Affairs, and they are coming back with a cogent response. Goes without saying that maybe some elements of our establishment could have been a little more proactive, but then now that we know all mobilization has happened, China also knows it cannot be escalated further, and that is why they have also agreed for these talks.
Abhishek, let's also get in our guests right now if there is any question that you also have, given the fact that as the talks are underway. Just a quick recap for all our viewers who are basically tuning in right now. We're given to understand that the talks are already underway. Abhishek, yesterday also you were breaking. What exactly would be the dynamics, if you can also bring in one of our guests and take it forward from there?
Well, Shravan, I can tell you that the talks begin with meet and greet, possibly over breakfast. The fact is that there are problems between the two nations, but as Brigadier Kumar was explaining, not a single shot has been fired since 1975 at least. So in that sense, we are not enemies. So when the talks happen, generally they happen in an amiable atmosphere, and why not? After the meet and greet, obviously, the brass tacks in terms of the agenda, and the agenda is clear. India wants a status quo ante. I doubt whether maps would be discussed. The experts here with us you can bring them in. But then essentially India's position is very clear that in all these places, Gogra, Pangong Lake, north of Pangong Lake, the Finger area, Depsa, I beg your pardon, Galwan Valley and the hot springs, they have to just go back and establish a status quo ante April 1, 2020, and then the further talks as far as the LAC is concerned can take place.
Let me also bring in Major General K.K. Sinha right now. Major General K.K. Sinha, your expectations as far as the military level talks are concerned, are you really hopeful by the end of the day some sort of a resolution, or perhaps it's too premature to make a comment of that sort?
Sawan, it may not be premature to actually think of the outcome.
See, it is a very, very clear that how it will go. You must understand, and the military side understand very well. See what is happening. You must understand why the Chinese have done it, post-COVID as they are concerned. In the month of May, it has started, and why they have done it. Why this timing and space in which they have done it, you have to understand. And please don't make any mistake that they have done locally. They have just come like that. It is a very deep, strategy behind it, and a very well thought plan they have got, and they are doing it. If you do the mistake that every time you do it, you think that something has come, like it has come in Doklam, and it is that we are meeting, and it is just a meeting and everything is fine, hanky-dory, and go on. You understand? See, what we take a pride that not a single bullet has been fired. In 67 they tried, they failed very badly. 90 people of there killed, and we killed actually from our side 600, they say 300. Thereafter, in 87, Sun Rongchu, if you remember, it was the Sundarji who was again a military strategist who did it, and it was an Indian initiative. In Namkachu area, we went. Chinese were surprised. And then what they did it, we won over, is Sun Rongchu, we won over, but in our terms. But 88, Rajiv Gandhi went to China, and there everything have fallen thereafter. In 3 years' time, 93, a peace and tranquility agreement. Then in 96, you did one agreement. Till 2013, 5 agreement. Peace and tranquility right up to the border, your military defense cooperation agreement, you did it. In the garb of that, these are all flawed. I have been the Major General Operations dealing with China for 3 years in Eastern Command. I have gone through each and every document. We are the only loser of this if you go with this document. 20 rounds of talk has taken place, not a single place any outcome has come. In the garb of that, they have dubbed up the complete area. But today, when you are making a road, you make a canal in Domchuk, and they say don't make a canal for your public. They say don't make the road. They want to dictate terms. And this is the way the Chinese strategy goes. I was hearing the brigadier who has been to China, but he is saying the same old thing. That, nothing will happen, we have to adjust China. See, China is anti-India. Every time China has gone against you, they have gone United Nations openly. Maulana Masood Azhar, they were supporting. They are coming every time to you, and you are saying adjust China, adjust China. You see, in the garb of these, what they have done it, they have constructed the infrastructure. The weakest point today, the Chinese have got that the military is not up to the mark. They are still conscript army. They have got 1/2 of the army. They have cut down. If you go slow and get into the trap, then you will get in the trap, and the time will come. Then you have to accept everything the way I am expecting, including the string of pulse. They are doing it. Someone told, what Road and Belt Initiative. The Road and Belt Initiative, all 5 or 6 of them all over the world, joining 260 countries. The first thing what they are doing it from your area. See, Abhishek, let me finish.
I think we have to be,
today we have to be very tough.
Yeah.
Abhishek, we have to be very tough.
No, General Sinha, I was
ground. We are sitting on the peak. This is the opportunity. Yeah, Abhishek.
I completely take your point. I take your point there, General Sinha. I take your point there. I just want to bring in quickly. Yeah, I want to bring in PK Mishra as well, former ADG BSF. Mr. Mishra. Now look at the talks that are ongoing. Now the talks are ongoing as we broadcast, and the build-up has been there to the talks, Mr. Mishra. And one thing is for sure that India is in no mood and will never cede an inch to China. You saw the statement that we just brought you from China's mouthpiece. Now let me tell you the words of the Chinese mouthpiece. The Chinese mouthpiece said, with India-China cooperation, he said, with India-China cooperation, India will enjoy a peaceful international environment. That first line itself is a big giveaway. So basically, China wants India to cooperate with them and not cooperate with America. So it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, it's very obvious they want India in their corner, which is never going to happen.
Yes, Abhishek, what you have asked is correct, because practically the way the standoff has taken place now in Galwan Valley, China wants to show that they are strategically they are the most #1 country in the world now. But they are facing the problem. It started with WHO, COVID, and now also G7. Earlier they were stopping India for this NSG group and United Nations Security Council position. Now they know that
this G7 is now going to be extended to G10 or G11, and it will be held in September, and perhaps USA and India will take leadership in that, particularly in WHO. Dr. Harshvardhan's position now in WHO has also hit China. China's behavior and stand-up, what we have seen earlier. Now we had a lot of, number of discussions taking place up to major general level. Now, of course, the Moldova talk has already started at 9:30, but I can well tell you, the stand-up what has been done by China, it has been done with the approval of Xi Jinping and nobody else. They want to show their strength. They have already brought their armor, they have already brought their RT, they have already brought their air force, and they have already brought their army also PLA. And the way they have deployed and the way they blocked our patrol party and the way they use the sticks and nails and stones against Indian soldiers, it can well tell that they are not going to again go back to April position. What is our stake now? Perhaps Lieutenant General Harinder Singh will take on that the status quo has to be maintained for April, what it was existing in April. But China knows it. For the first time, India has started constructing its road opposite to them in LSE, and that is what they do not want this. They want by hook or by crook, the construction has to be stopped. But India this time, I am sure, because the way the construction is going on, the position in which the construction is going on, it is well within the territory, leaving some space from LSE, and China was not supposed to tell us why we are constructing the road in our territory when they have already done it in their side. Now they have brought a lot of translation, not only of troops, translation of helicopters have also taken place. Yeah. So they are showing that strength. Perhaps I am very sure. I agree with General Sinha that we have to hold on to the ground. We have to show them our strength and let the G7 be over, G7 be there, and let the COVID-19 to be discussed in WHO. China has to be cornered, and the diplomatic win has to be there with our strength to be shown. Like we have to show the strength.
Yeah. We'll take that point forward because I still haven't gone to Dr. Shriram Cholia. We'll just take a quick break, come back, and go across to all our guests and continue this coverage. The breaking news as we go to a short break: the talks have begun, and India in no mood to give anything that China wants. Now there has been no clarity on what China wants, but they have communicated in previous talks as well a few points, but sources saying that all of them are unreal. Let's see what happens today. Taking a short break. Stay with us.